Good morning, folks. We are into the second to the last week of our course. Next week is the end of the semester, and so I thought I'd take a few minutes and bring us up to speed on where we are in the course and what we have coming up over the next 2 weeks, and a little bit more specifics on this week's topic. So we'll be looking at GIS jobs and careers. Just a reminder that you have your third 50-point assignment due this week, which is on the articles related to the GI science topic, and you'll also look at a little bit of information about sort of the what's called the Book of Knowledge, the GIS Book of Knowledge, which sort of addresses different topical areas within GIS. And that'll dovetail nicely with this week's topic. You do have another of your content review activity discussions, CRAD 13, which is going to be just a few short questions. I did make the due date on that one Sunday so that you have a little bit more breathing space since the assignment is due on Friday. And so I want to go through and talk a little bit about some of these topics. And to do so, I'm going to go back to a presentation that was posted a couple of weeks ago for around GIS Day, and that was a rather busy week, and so I wanted to go through and talk a little bit more about some of these resources. And I have a couple of articles that you're going to be, actually one article that you're going to be reading that will sort of address some of the topics that came up in this presentation. And then you'll also look at a video on a specific GIS career. So let me just take a couple minutes and go through this. So this topic focused on this sort of broad umbrella of economics, the industry of GIS. And we have this traditional distinction of GIS or geospatial technologies that go back to the beginning of the semester, GIS being the predominant one, but we also have global positioning systems, remote sensing and image processing, popular geographics, and then geoservices. And there's a report from a few years back that was actually commissioned by Google that stated that the geoservices industry generates between $150 and $270 billion a year. And this report was interesting to me for a number of different reasons. One is that the term geoservices is something that's actually relatively new, and certainly does not go as far back as the term geographic information systems, which is probably the oldest. Geospatial technologies has emerged within the last decade or so. There's different terms that have been used, like location-based services, which is really kind of a lot of the focus of this particular report. But they go through and highlight direct benefits by developing and providing geoservices, consumer benefits, so things like improved navigation using onboard GPS, that sort of things, and then some wider economic benefits. And they sort of put this together in a diagram, which I think is useful, where you can sort of look at what they're calling the geoservices sector. And again, GIS would sort of be included within this broader topic of this geoservices sector. And then these broader economic benefits for better information, reduced administration, lower search costs, facilitates competition, and then that feeds into this full economic impacts, which also includes the consumer perspective of reduced navigation time, better information, and what have you. And you'll actually see some information in the reading on more specifically related to sort of GIS jobs and GIS careers, as opposed to these sort of broad geoservices benefits that are described here, with showing time savings being the greatest benefit, followed by education and emergency response. And again, an interesting division of what they describe as the stylized value chain for geoservices, but they do segment or partition 3 different areas here. The first being signal provision, which really is addressing the global positioning systems or global navigation satellite system, which is the satellite-based positioning, and the various aspects of this is kind of included within this block. Next, we have the geographic information system. Of course, this is what we are most familiar with, and they talk about different kind of manufacturers, software developers, related services. There's your location-based services, software developers that are part of this component, and then you have the satellite images industry. So this is your remote sensing. So again, if you think back to a few slides, GPS, GIS, remote sensing, satellite imagery, fitting into those 3 blocks loosely. Okay, so we have a wide array of careers, especially around the science, technology, engineering, and math umbrella known as STEM. You may have heard of this. Quite common to talk about STEM careers these days, and geospatial and GIS is most definitely fits into that umbrella. We've spent some time talking at some length about various aspects of sustainability and social justice to which GIS is being applied, in addition to more traditional economic activities, including extractive industries like mining and what have you. It was an interesting discussion last week where you were looking at the ethical implications, and we had things like developing a pipeline where it may cross migration paths, what the ethical obligations of a GIS analyst are. Okay, so some just kind of broad cut at what job titles might be, and these are sort of in increasing levels of complexity and experience, education level, and although the last one, certainly cartographic specialist, could fall into something maybe closer to what you might find up with a GIS specialist or GIS technician. Again, just some articles that we linked to. Geospatial technology competency model. For those of you who attended the GIS Day talk, you saw a little bit about this. It's referred to in your article this week as well, but the general idea is this is a highly vetted, lots of different input from industry and other employers, educators across the country that have sort of identified these different tiers and these sort of levels of skills that are required. You see these broad umbrellas. Some of them are very general, like personal effectiveness competencies, Tier 2 academic competencies, Tier 3 workplace competencies. These are things that are generally looked for in the workplace. And then we get to Tier 4 and we really start to get into the core geospatial abilities and knowledge. These are the things that you would sort of look to be developing at this level. Okay, certification, again, something you'll look at. I'm going to show you this website here in a couple minutes. This Geotech Center is a useful resource, as is the farnorcalgis.org, a local resource. Some information on local employers. We are filling positions right now for internships in the coming semester. A variety of companies are actually hiring positions locally. And then, of course, our program at Shasta College. And just wanted to highlight for you the courses that are listed here for the spring semester. you will have needed to meet the necessary prerequisites to go into either GEOG 12 or GEOG 15, but the GEOG 25 class is an open entry. If you don't have these advisories, you can pick up some background in GIS by doing some online course activities, which I can direct you to, and then our field class to San Francisco, which is really more of a fun course. So check that out. And so with that, let's jump over and just take a look at a few of these websites. This is the article that you're reading this week. These are the videos that you'll be viewing for that assignment. A little bit about the Certification Institute, if you'd like to read a little bit more about this. Again, the article will talk about this. This is the Geotech Center, and this website has lots and lots of interesting resources, including Program Finder. So we're on the map here. I have worked extensively with the folks at the Geotech Center. You can see they schedule upcoming events. Lots of good resources that you can check out at this website. You can access the Geospatial Technology Competency Model. You can look at some of their model courses, educational resources, and what have you. Of course, our program website, here's the farnorcalgis.org website, which includes, among other things, student map projects that have been completed in the past, and various things that are happening locally. I just posted some information on some GIS positions at Vestra Resources. So this is a nice resource to take advantage of locally. I provided you a number of links to job resources under this week's module. So you can go back and look at the presentation that I just the lecture from a few weeks ago that I just showed you, but I also pulled out a few of these selected links so that you can pursue these on your own. And if you are someone that's interested in pursuing GIS for employment or professional purposes, I strongly advise that you take advantage of some of these resources. And one of them that I provide there is links to GIS jobs, and there's actually several of these sorts of websites that are out there, and you can see that when you come into the home page, they'll have a list of available positions. There's a senior GIS developer at Los Angeles, and we see field services and GIS developers and what have you. You can actually browse by state. So if you're interested in staying in California, we can see jobs in Los Angeles, Redwood City, Redlands, California, Sacramento, San Luis Obispo. And now we start to see some technician level positions. There's a field technician level position. So these are the types of positions that you might be qualified for if you completed the GIS certificate at Shasta College. And in this case, we actually have Reading represented. So there's the GIS analyst position that is local in town here. And again, I can't emphasize strongly enough the value of having your face known, getting out and applying for things, taking advantage of the resources that are out there. Going to conferences, belonging to professional organizations. These are things, the Reading Area GIS User Group, you get your face and your name around, and it's something that will help to advance things along for you in terms of your own path. And for many of you, you may not end up specializing in GIS, but certainly the ability to say you have after this semester, at least a course under your belt. If you have a certificate, these are things that can really improve and differentiate you in terms of other people that you might be competing with for jobs. So with that brief overview, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and we will see you all online. Have a nice week.